Hi, sixth grade. We're going to continue moving on in chapter 6. We're going to take a look at the next several lessons. So 6:3 through 6:5. And we're basically focusing on comparing our integers using inequalities. So remember that inequalities are that, alligator mouth, right? So when we read them from left to right. So this first one shows less than. The second one is more than. And we also had equal to, right? That second line that was underneath. So that's when we have less than, or it can be equal, or we can have greater than, or more than, or equal to. And these also had circles that we assigned so that on the number line, we could explain what x was, okay? So if it's just the inequality by itself, we called those open circles. And then if they were also equal to, if that could be, then we filled in the circles. We called those filled in or closed circles. So here we have a number line. And if I just picked some random numbers, let's say I had this. That's an open circle on -1. And then if I had a line pointing to the right, remember that these are always positives. And this side over here, is always negative numbers. Remember we talked about this yesterday. These are always bigger. These are always smaller. So if we have an open circle and a line pointing to the right, we can say that x is what to -1? Is it greater than or is it less than? Let's look at the direction of numbers that it's pointing at. It's pointing towards the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, towards all positives. So if x is any one of these, then that means that x is bigger than -1. It is not equal to because it's not filled in, okay? If I use that same number line but change colors, let's say I have a filled in circle on -4, and this time I'll point the opposite direction. Now I have x and I have -4, and I need to determine my inequality sign. It's filled in, so that means that it's going to have an equal to on the bottom, right? It's going to have that line, but which direction should it go? So I look at the -4 and I check the line, the numbers that it's pointing to. It's pointing to -5, -6, -7, -8, so higher negative numbers, which remember is smaller. It's smaller. So x is less than. X is smaller than -4. That means I want the big side on -4. Okay? This is what you're going to be working with today, along with comparing decimals, which we struggled a little bit. Let's say we have 2/10 compared to 0.4. We can't compare them unless they're in the same form. So that means you need to either make them both fractions or you need to make them both decimals. And it doesn't matter which one you choose. The 4 is in the spot right after the decimal, which is the tenths spot. So if I want to change this into a fraction, the first one stays the same because it was already a fraction. And the second one turns into 4 over 10 because it's in the tenths spot. So 4 over 10. So now which one is bigger? 4/10 is bigger. Now what happens if I make them negative? Let's say I make just the first one negative. Negative 2/10 compared to 0.4. We already know that 0.4 is the same as 4/10, and 4/10 is bigger than 2/10. But is 4/10 bigger than negative 2/10? I hope you said yes. All positive numbers are bigger than any negative, right? We could have a positive 1 compared to negative 394. 394 is a bigger number, but because it's negative, that makes the 1 bigger because it's positive, okay? Big side goes to the bigger number. Big side goes to the bigger number. Now what happens if they're both negative this time? So 2/10 compared to negative 0.4. Even if I change them, negative 2/10 into both fractions, negative 4/10, now they have the same sign. They also have the same denominator. They're in the same form. So which number is bigger? I hope that you remember when we're talking about negatives, the bigger they are, the smaller they are, right? This was their opposites. If they're negative, it's opposite. So negative 2 is finally bigger. This one is finally bigger than this one when they're negative, okay? Think about, remember I always talked about owing. When you think of negatives, you talk about owing. Do you want to owe $2 or do you want to owe $4? Which would be better? Owing $2 is better. I mean, we don't want to owe anybody money at all, but if we have to borrow, we want the smallest amount so that it's easier to pay back. Today, we're going to be on the same page, so page 372, and you're going to be working for numbers, let's see, 17 through 25. And these were all random examples that will help you answer those questions. If you end up getting stumped or have any questions, let me know and we can jump on a Google Hangout around 2:15. Okay, so send me a message if you need help. Thanks, guys.